I can't marry you. I'm sorry. Can't marry you.
As chaos erupted at the altar, the bride, all silk and pearls and perfect makeup, was backing away from the wheelchair like it might bite her. I can't do this. Sabrina's voice cracked through the microphone. I'm sorry, Minho. I just can't. 300 guests gasped as one. Minho Kang sat perfectly still in his custom wheelchair, his face a mask of stone, while his bride gathered her dress and ran. Actually, I ran. Down the aisle, past the white roses, past the shocked faces, past everything they'd built together. Brielle watched the groom's jaw tighten, watched his hands grip the armrests, watched a billionaire get his heart shattered in front of souls and New York's elite. And something in her chest twisted hard. She didn't know yet that in 6 months she'd be wearing that veil. She didn't know she'd fall in love with the man everyone pitied. She didn't know this disaster would become her beginning. But first, she had to get through today without throwing her champagne at the running bride. Let's rewind to 3 hours before the wedding that never was. Brielle Montgomery was not supposed to be at this wedding. "Girl, you look ridiculous," she muttered to herself in the hotel mirror, tugging at the tight peach bridesmaid dress, like a frosted cupcake that got into a fight. Her best friend Camia had begged her to fill in as a last-minute replacement bridesmaid. Some cousins had the flu, or cold feet, or common sense. Brielle wasn't sure which. She'd only agreed because Camia promised her a free weekend at a 5-star hotel in Manhattan and unlimited champagne. Worth it, Brielle decided, smoothing down her natural curls that she'd spent 2 hours twisting into an updo. At 28, Brielle ran a small catering business in Brooklyn. She made decent money, loved her independence, and had exactly zero interest in the kind of fancy wedding happening downstairs. Marriage seemed like a scam designed to make women lose their minds over centerpieces. But free champagne, that she could support. Brielle headed down to the chapel on the hotel's garden level. The place screamed money, crystal chandeliers, imported flowers, and a literal string quartet. She slipped into the back row, figuring she'd done her bridesmaid duty by showing up in this ridiculous dress. That's when she first saw him. Kang Minho sat at the altar in a sleek black suit, his wheelchair positioned perfectly beside the officiant. Even from the back row, Brielle could see he had a gorgeous sharp jawline, dark eyes, the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers. His posture was perfect despite the chair. Confidence. "That's the groom," the elderly woman next to Brielle whispered. "Kang Minho, tech billionaire, made his fortune in AI and robotics by 25. A tragic accident 2 years ago left him paralyzed from the waist down." Brielle nodded politely, wishing people wouldn't trauma dump about strangers at weddings. "Such a shame about the wheelchair," the woman continued, shaking her head. "I wonder if Sabrina really knows what she's signing up for." Brielle's eyes twitched. "I'm sure he's still capable of being a whole person," she said sweetly, "wheelchair and all." The woman huffed and turned away. The music swelled. Everyone stood. Sabrina appeared at the entrance in a dress that probably cost more than Brielle's car. Everything seemed perfect. Until it wasn't. Sabrina walked down that aisle like she was approaching a funeral instead of her future. Brielle noticed immediately the bride's smile was wrong. Too tight, too forced. Her eyes kept darting to the wheelchair, then away, then back. "Oh no, this girl is about to do something stupid." Sabrina reached the altar. The officiant began, "Dearly beloved." Minho reached for Sabrina's hand. She let him take it, but Brielle saw her flinch. Actually flinch. The officiant continued through the opening remarks. "If anyone has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now." Sabrina's voice cut through the chapel like a knife. 300 people stopped breathing. Sabrina Minho's voice was low, controlled, but Brielle heard the confusion in it. "I can't marry you," Sabrina said, pulling her hand away. "I thought I could do this. I really did. But I can't spend my life taking care of someone whose disabled Minho finished for her, his voice now ice cold. This isn't what I signed up for. Sabrina's voice rose, defensive. When we got engaged, you could walk. We were supposed to travel, dance at our wedding, and have a normal life. I'm still the same person. No, you're not. Sabrina stepped back. Everything's about doctors and physical therapy and accessibility. I'm 26, Minho. I don't want to spend my 20s pushing a wheelchair. The chapel was so quiet Brielle could hear her own heartbeat. Minho's face had gone completely blank, then left. If that's how you feel, leave. His voice didn't shake, didn't break. I won't trap you in a marriage with someone you pity. Yes, you do. Minho looked at her with eyes that were somehow both angry and empty. You've pitied me since the accident. I just didn't want to see it. Sabrina's face crumpled, but instead of apologizing, instead of taking it back, she gathered her massive dress and ran. The chapel exploded into chaos. Minho sat perfectly still as his groomsmen rushed to him, as Sabrina's bridesmaids scattered like startled birds, as 300 guests whispered and gasped and pulled out their phones. Brielle watched Minho's best man, a tall Korean guy in his 30s, lean down and whisper something. Minho shook his head. His jaw was tight enough to crack diamonds. We need to get you out of here, the best man said, louder now. Minho's voice carried across the chapel. I paid for this venue. I invited these people. I'm not running away like I did something wrong. I'll stay for the reception. Minho turned his wheelchair with practiced ease. We have food, music, and an open bar. Might as well use it. And with that, Kang Minho rolled himself straight down the aisle, past the whispering guests, his head high and his face expressionless. Brielle felt something crack in her chest. Respect, maybe, or recognition. She knew that look, the one that said, I'll die before I let them see me break. The reception was the most awkward event Brielle had ever attended. Half the guests left immediately. The other half stayed out of morbid curiosity or because they genuinely cared about Minho. The catering staff looked confused but kept serving food. The DJ played subdued music. The whole thing felt like a funeral for a marriage that never existed. Brielle grabbed a champagne flute and found Camia near the gift table. This is insane, Camia whispered. I can't believe Sabrina actually left him at the altar. In front of everyone, I can't believe she basically said it was because of the wheelchair. Brielle muttered, like he stopped being a person because he can't walk. Right, Camia shook her head. I mean, I know Minho from business circles. Dude's brilliant. His company is revolutionizing accessible technology. He's kind, generous, and funny when you get to know him. The wheelchair is literally just how he gets around. Brielle's eyes found Minho across the room. He was surrounded by concerned family members, all speaking rapid Korean. His face was still that careful blank mask. He's holding it together better than I would, Brielle said. Korean stoicism, Camia said. My ex was Korean. They're taught not to show negative emotions in public. He's probably dying inside. As if hearing them, Minho suddenly stood well, rolled away from his family, heading toward the balcony. Alone. Brielle watched him go, watched everyone else let him go. Someone should check on him, she said. But his family was still clustered together, arguing about something in Korean. His groomsmen were doing shots at the bar. Everyone was dealing with their own shock. No one was going after him. Oh, for God's sake, Brielle muttered. She set down her champagne and headed for the balcony. The balcony overlooked Central Park. It was a beautiful early September sunset, golden light. The city stretched out like a promise. Minho sat at the railing, his back to the door. Brielle hesitated. She didn't know this man, had no right to intrude on his worst moment, but something pushed her forward anyway. Hey, she said softly. Minho didn't turn. If you're here to tell me it's going to be okay, save it. I was actually going to say your ex is an idiot, but okay. That got his attention. Minho turned, and Brielle got her first good look at him up close. Damn, he was beautiful. Even with the pain in his dark eyes, even with the tension in his jaw, it was beautiful in a way that made her forget words for a second. "You're one of the bridesmaids," Minho said. It wasn't a question. "Substitute bridesmaid," Brielle corrected. "I'm Brielle, friend of a friend. I don't actually know anyone here except Camia." "Lucky you." Minho turned back to the view. "You can leave without it being weird." True, Brielle moved to lean against the railing, a few feet away from him. "But that champagne is really good, so I'm sticking around." The corner of Minho's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Vintage Dom Perignon, $2,000 a bottle. See, totally worth the awkwardness. This time he did smile, just a little. "You just got left at the altar in front of 300 people. Of course you're not okay." Brielle shrugged, seemed like a stupid question. Minho was quiet for a moment. "Everyone keeps looking at me like I'm broken. Like they feel sorry for me. People are idiots," Brielle said simply. "They don't know what to do with things that make them uncomfortable, so they default to pity. It's lazy empathy." Minho looked at her sharply. "Lazy empathy." "Yeah, real empathy takes work. Understanding someone's actual experience, treating them like a person instead of a tragedy. Pity is just easy. Makes people feel good about themselves without actually doing anything." "That's." Minho paused. "That's exactly what it is." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. The city hummed below them. "Can I ask you something?" Brielle said. "Depends on the question." "Did you know that she felt that way?" Minho's hands tightened on the armrests of his wheelchair. "I suspected. After the accident, things changed. She started treating me differently. Carefully. Like I might break." He exhaled slowly. "But I thought if I gave her time, if I proved I was still capable, still independent, I thought love would be enough." "Love should have been enough," Brielle said firmly. "The problem isn't you. It's her capacity to love beyond her own comfort." Minho looked at Brielle like he was seeing her for the first time. Really seeing her. "You're very blunt," he said. "It's a gift and a curse." "I think I like it." Brielle grinned. "Most people don't. They want me to sugarcoat things." "Life's too short for sugarcoating." They talked for another 20 minutes, about everything and nothing. Brielle told him about her catering business, her tiny Brooklyn apartment, her absolute horror at the idea of themed weddings. Minho told her about his company, his love of old movies, his secret addiction to American barbecue. He didn't mention the wheelchair once. She didn't ask about it. For 20 minutes on that balcony, he was just Minho, and she was just Brielle. Two people who happened to meet at the world's worst wedding. "I should get back," Minho finally said. "Face the masses. Show everyone I'm not going to throw myself off a bridge." "Are you going to throw yourself off a bridge?" "No, spite is a great motivator. I'm going to live an amazing life just to prove Sabrina wrong." Brielle laughed. "That's the energy. Pettiness as motivation. I respect it." Minho smiled, a real smile this time. "Thank you, Brielle, for treating me like a person instead of a catastrophe." He started to roll back inside, then paused. Brielle's heart did a weird little flip. "Aren't you technically still at your wedding?" "My wedding to someone else just ended pretty definitively. I think I'm clear." "Fair point." Brielle pulled out her phone. "Okay, but I'm warning you, I send a lot of memes. It's excessive." "I can handle excessively." They exchanged numbers. Minho headed back inside, his shoulders a little less tense than before. Brielle stayed on the balcony, looking at his contact in her phone. Minho Kang. "What are you doing, Brielle?" she muttered to herself. "The man just got destroyed at his own wedding. This is a terrible idea." But something told her this was just the beginning of something. She didn't know how right she was. Brielle was elbow-deep in cake batter when her phone buzzed. "Minho, I'm watching The Princess Bride and eating barbecue at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. This is what rock bottom looks like." Brielle grinned. wiping flour on her apron before texting back. Minho, Fairpoint, what are you doing? Brielle making a 3-tier wedding cake for someone who wants each tier to be a different flavor and insists on fondant. I'm in hell. Minho, fondant is a crime against humanity. Brielle, finally someone who understands. They'd been texting all week. Nothing serious, just memes, random observations, complaints about work. Brielle told herself it was just friendly. Two people who met under weird circumstances, staying in touch. She absolutely was not thinking about his smile, or his voice, or the way he'd looked at her on that balcony like she was the only real thing in a room full of pretense. Nope, not thinking about any of that. Minho, would it be completely insane if I asked you to dinner? Brielle's heart stopped, then started again faster. Brielle, like a date. Minho, like a date. Unless that's weird, it might be weird. I just got left at the altar. That's probably a red flag. Brielle, the biggest red flag is that you use The Princess Bride as a depression watch. That's a comfort movie, not a sad movie. Minho, so is that a yes to dinner? Brielle stared at her phone. She should say no. He was clearly rebounding. She didn't do anything complicated. This had disaster written all over it. Brielle, yes, but I picked the place. No fancy restaurants where the portions are 2 molecules and a dream. Minho, deal when? Brielle, Friday, 7 p.m. I'll text you the address. Minho, I'll be there. Brielle set down her phone and tried to focus on the cake, but she couldn't stop smiling. Camilla walked into the kitchen, took one look at Brielle's face and groaned. Oh no, you're texting him, aren't you? I don't know what you're talking about. Brielle Montgomery, you have that look, that I'm about to make questionable decisions look. We're just getting dinner. He got left at the altar a week ago. Which is why it's just dinner, as friends, supportive friends. Camilla gave her a look that said she wasn't buying it. Just be careful. Minho's a good guy, but he's going through something major. I know what I'm doing, Brielle said, with way more confidence than she felt. She absolutely did not know what she was doing. Friday arrived faster than Brielle expected. She changed outfits 4 times before settling on a simple black dress and jean jacket, casual but cute. It's not a date, she said in her reflection. It's dinner, between 2 adults who barely know each other. Definitely not a date. Her reflection looked skeptical. Brielle had chosen a barbecue place in Brooklyn, her territory, her comfort zone. When she arrived, Minho was already there, waiting outside. He looked good, too good. Dark jeans, a gray Henley leather jacket. His wheelchair was sleek matte black, custom-made by the look of it. You're early, Brielle said, approaching with a smile. My mother raised me right, Minho replied. You look beautiful. You look like you're not wallowing in heartbreak, so that's progress. Minho laughed, a real full laugh, wow, still incredibly blunt. Told you it was my brand. They headed inside. The restaurant was accessible, with ramps and wide aisles Brielle had checked beforehand. Minho noticed. You picked an accessible place, he said quietly. I picked a place with good brisket, Brielle corrected. The accessibility is just common sense. But Minho's expression said he knew what she'd done, and appreciated it. Dinner was easy. Easier than Brielle expected. They talked about everything. Childhoods, his in Seoul and New York, hers in Atlanta and Brooklyn, worst dates. His involved a woman who spent 3 hours talking about her ex. Hers involved a guy who brought his mother, dreams, fears, favorite foods. Minho told her about his company, Tech Accessible, which designed affordable assistive technology. Most accessibility devices cost thousands, he explained. We're creating versions that cost hundreds, making independence accessible to everyone, not just the wealthy. Brielle watched his eyes light up as he talked about his work. This was his passion, his purpose. That's incredible, she said. You're literally changing lives. Minho shrugged. It's selfish too. After my accident, I realized how much I'd taken for granted, how many barriers exist for disabled people. I had the money and resources to overcome them, but most people don't. So I'm trying to fix that. That's not selfish. That's using your experience to help others. There's a difference. Sabrina never understood that, Minho said quietly. Then he winced. Sorry, I shouldn't bring her up on dinner. You almost said date. You did. Would that be terrible if this was a date? Brielle took a sip of her drink, considering. A week ago, you were supposed to get married. To someone who didn't love me. Not really, not for who I am now. Still, that's heavy stuff to process. I know, Minho leaned forward, but here's the thing, Brielle. That night on the balcony, you were the first person in months to treat me like I was just a person, not broken Minho, not poor paralyzed Minho, just Minho. Do you know how rare that is? Brielle's chest tightened. That's just basic human decency. Which is apparently not that common. Minho reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. I know the timing is weird. I know I'm probably rebounding, but I really like talking to you. I'd like to keep doing it. If you're willing to take a chance on a guy with very recent emotional baggage. Brielle looked at his hand hovering near hers, at his face open and honest, at the hope in his eyes. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was a bad idea. But her heart was louder. Okay, she said, but we're taking this slow. And you need to actually process what happened with Sabrina. No suppressing feelings because you're trying to move on. If this gets weird or you realize you're not ready, you tell me. No ghosting. I can agree to that. I'm not changing who I am. I'm blunt, I'm independent, I'm terrible at being romantic. Minho grinned. I wouldn't want you any other way. Brielle finally let herself smile. Then yeah, let's see where this goes. Minho's whole face lit up. He closed the distance and took her hand. His hand was warm, strong, steady. Brielle felt something shift in her chest, something that felt dangerous and exciting and absolutely terrifying. What am I getting myself into, she muttered. Hopefully something good, Minho said. Remember where we left off. Brielle and Minho at that barbecue restaurant, holding hands, deciding to give this thing between them a real shot despite the absolutely chaotic timing. Well, buckle up, because life is about to test that decision in every way possible. You're glowing, Camilla said, eyeing Brielle suspiciously over brunch. It's disgusting. Brielle tried to hide her smile and failed. I'm not glowing. You are absolutely glowing. You look like someone who's regularly amazing. Don't finish that sentence in public. Brielle cut her off, laughing. But Camilla wasn't wrong. The past 2 months with Minho had been unexpected. Good. Really good. They'd taken it slow, like Brielle insisted, on actual dates, real conversations, getting to know each other without pressure. Minho was thoughtful in ways that surprised her. He remembered small things such as that she hated roses but loved sunflowers, that she was stress-baked at midnight, that she was secretly obsessed with terrible reality TV. He made her laugh, challenged her opinions, treated her like an equal partner, not a prize or a project. And yeah, the chemistry was intense, but they hadn't rushed it. So when do I actually get to meet him properly? Camilla asked. Not at a disaster wedding, but like, as your actual boyfriend. Boyfriend, the word still felt strange. Brielle hadn't done the relationship thing in years. Soon, Brielle promised. He's been swamped with work. His company just landed a huge contract. Her phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. Minho, family dinner at my parents' house tonight. My mother is insisting you come. I tried to warn her that you're a normal person who might not enjoy intense Korean family interrogation, but she's not hearing it. Save me. Brielle's stomach dropped. Brielle meeting the parents, already. It's only been 2 months. Minho, trust me, I know. But my mother found out about you and now she won't stop until she's thoroughly investigated your intentions. It's cultural, and also she's nosy. Brielle, what if they hate me? Minho, impossible, but if it helps, I'll be right there. And my mom's bulgogi is incredible, worth the interrogation. Brielle stared at her phone, anxiety creeping in. What's wrong? Minho's mom wants to meet me, tonight. Oh damn, Korean mom meeting, that's serious. Too serious. For 2 months, maybe, Camilla studied Brielle's face, but you really like him, don't you? Brielle did, more than she'd liked anyone in a long time, maybe ever. Yeah, she admitted quietly, I really do. Then go meet the family. Worst case scenario, you get a good story out of it. Brielle texted Minho back. Brielle, okay, but if your mom hates me, I'm blaming you. Minho, deal, pick you up at 6. Brielle, see you then. She set down her phone and tried not to panic. Meeting the parents, this was real, this was actually real. Minho picked Brielle up at 6 sharp in his custom-modified SUV. You look terrified, he said as she climbed in. I'm not terrified, I'm strategically concerned. My family isn't that scary. You said your mom is interrogating me about my intentions. I may have exaggerated slightly, Minho pulled into traffic. She's actually very sweet, just protective, and traditional. And yes, she will ask invasive questions about your life plan and whether you want children. Oh my God. But she'll also feed you until you can't move and probably try to send you home with enough leftovers to feed your entire neighborhood. So there's balance. The Kang family home was in Westchester, a beautiful modern house that screamed quiet wealth. Brielle's anxiety ratcheted up another notch. Breathe, Minho said gently, taking her hand. They're going to love you. You can't know that. I know my family, and I know you trust me. Brielle took a deep breath. Okay, let's do this. Minho's mother opened the door before they even knocked. Mrs. Kang was tiny, elegant, with sharp eyes that took in everything about Brielle in approximately 2 seconds. You must be Brielle, she said in lightly accented English. She pulled Brielle into a hug before Brielle could even respond. Over Mrs. Kang's shoulder, Brielle saw Minho mouth sorry. Inside, the house smelled amazing garlic, sesame oil, and grilled meat. Brielle's stomach growled inappropriately loudly. She's hungry, good, Mrs. Kang beamed. I like a girl who eats. Come meet everyone. Everyone turned out to be a lot of people. Minho's father, Mr. Kang, is tall, reserved, with kind eyes. His older sister, Hana, is a corporate lawyer with perfect posture and an intimidating stare. Hana's husband, David, who seemed very chill and kept making dad jokes. And Minho's grandmother, Halmoni, who spoke no English but smiled at Brielle warmly. Mrs. Kang directed Brielle to a seat next to Minho. The table was covered in food: bulgogi, japchae, kimchi, rice, banchan, soup. It was overwhelming and wonderful. Thank you for having me, Brielle said. This looks incredible. Minho says you're a chef, Mrs. Kang asked. Baker and caterer, Brielle corrected. I have a small business in Brooklyn. She's being modest, Minho interjected. Her cakes are works of art, and her catering is so good she's booked 6 months out. Brielle felt her cheeks heat. It's a growing business, still small. Small businesses are the backbone of the economy, Mr. Kang said thoughtfully. That takes courage and discipline. Dinner started pleasantly enough. The food was incredible. The family was warm but clearly assessing her. Brielle could feel Hana's eyes on her, evaluating. Then Mrs. Kang started the interrogation. So Brielle, tell me about your family. Here we go, Brielle thought. My mum is a nurse. Dad passed away when I was 15 from a heart attack. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Kang said, with genuine sympathy in her voice. Thank you, it was a long time ago. Brielle took a breath. No siblings, just me. And you came to New York alone. For college. Got my degree in business management, worked in a corporate bakery for a while, then started my own thing 3 years ago. That's impressive, Hannah said. It sounded like a compliment, but Brielle wasn't sure. Building a business from scratch in New York, that's not easy, Brielle agreed. But I like being my own boss. Mom, Minho protested. It's okay, Brielle said. She met Mrs. Kang's eyes directly, honest answer. I really care about Minho. I think he's brilliant, kind, and funny. We're taking things slow because the timing's been complicated, but I'm serious about seeing where this goes. Mrs. Kang studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. Good. Honesty is important, and Minho needs someone who sees him for who he is, not what he has or what happened to him. That's all I've ever done, Brielle said simply. I know, that's why you're here. The tension broke. Dinner continued with easier conversation stories about Minho's childhood, questions about Brielle's baking, Halmoni insisting on teaching Brielle how to make proper kimchi even though they didn't share a language. It was overwhelming and chaotic and warm. After dinner, Hannah cornered Brielle in the kitchen while they were helping clean up. Can I be blunt? Hannah asked. Please, blunt is my native language. Hannah smiled slightly. Good. Then I'll tell you straight. My brother has been through hell. That accident almost killed him. Then spending 2 years learning to live in a new body, building his company back up, dealing with Sabrina's gradual emotional withdrawal and then the altar disaster. It nearly broke him. I know, Brielle said quietly. He seems happy with you. Happier than I've seen him in years. But if you're not serious, if you're going to realize you can't handle dating someone with a disability, you need to walk away now, before he's in too deep. But I know people get into relationships thinking they can handle something, and then reality hits. Reality already hit, Brielle said firmly. I met Minho the day his fiancée left him at the altar specifically because of his disability. I've seen him on hard days. I've seen him deal with inaccessible buildings and ignorant people and the physical pain that comes with his condition. I'm not going into this blind. But 2 months isn't very long, no it's not. Which is why we're taking it slow. But I'm not Sabrina. I don't see Minho as broken or less than. I see him as a whole person who uses a wheelchair, that's it. Hannah studied her, then nodded slowly. Okay, I believe you. And for what it's worth, I'm glad he found you. Does that mean I passed the sister test? Barely, Hannah said, but she was smiling. Don't screw it up. I wasn't planning on it. I warned you. You did, but they're also really wonderful. Brielle looked at him. Your mom called me family. She likes you. I told you she would. Your sister threatened me in the kitchen. Minho laughed. That's how Hannah shows love. If she didn't care, she wouldn't bother threatening you. Your family is weird. They're your family now too, apparently. The words hung in the air between them. Is that okay? Minho asked quietly. Those things are moving kind of fast. Brielle thought about it. 2 months ago, she'd been single, independent, happy alone. Now she was meeting families and being invited to cultural holidays and feeling things she'd kept locked down for years. It was terrifying. It was also kind of perfect. Yeah, she said, it's okay. Minho reached over and took her hand. They drove through the city lights, and Brielle let herself feel hopeful. Brielle was putting the finishing touches on an anniversary cake when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this Brielle Montgomery? A woman's voice, familiar somehow. Yes, who's this? Sabrina Chen, Minho's ex-fiancée. Brielle nearly dropped the piping bag. Excuse me, I need to talk to you. About Minho. Can we meet? Every red flag Brielle possessed went up simultaneously. Why would I meet with you? Because I made a mistake. A huge mistake. And I need to fix it before you get hurt. Just coffee, 30 minutes, please. There are things about Minho you don't know, things he won't tell you. Brielle should have said no, should have hung up, should have blocked the number. but curiosity and a tiny seed of doubt made her fine. One coffee. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., the Starbucks on Court Street. Thank you, I'll see you there. Sabrina hung up. Brielle stared at her phone, her stomach churning. What the hell had she just agreed to? She didn't tell Minho about the call. Told herself it was because there was nothing to tell yet. Definitely not because some small part of her wanted to hear what Sabrina had to say without Minho's influence. The next day, Brielle arrived at Starbucks early, armed with caffeine and suspicion. Sabrina walked in exactly at 2. She was beautiful, the kind of polished, elegant beauty that made Brielle feel underdressed in her jeans and hoodie. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, designer handbag. Brielle, Sabrina extended a manicured hand. Thank you for meeting me. Brielle shook it briefly. You have 30 minutes, talk. They sat. Sabrina ordered a complicated latte. Brielle stuck with her black coffee. I know what you must think of me, Sabrina started. I know, and I tried to be supportive, but he wouldn't let me in, wouldn't accept help, wouldn't even consider couples counseling. It was his way or nothing. And when I tried to set boundaries, tried to say I needed him to lean on me sometimes, he shut down. So you left him at the altar. I tried to end things earlier, multiple times, but every time I brought it up, he'd convince me to stay, promise things would change. They never did. Sabrina's eyes were intense. I didn't leave because of the wheelchair. I left because I couldn't be in a relationship where I was shut out, where asking for emotional availability made me the villain. Brielle felt something cold settle in her stomach. Why are you telling me this? Because I saw you too. At the Chuseok celebration at his parents' house, my friend sent me pictures. You looked happy, and I don't want you to go through what I did, falling in love with someone who won't let you all the way in. Minho and I are different from you and him. Are you, or are you still in the honeymoon phase where he's on his best behavior? Sabrina leaned forward. Ask yourself, has he really talked about the accident, about what he went through, about how he actually feels about being disabled, or does he deflect and change the subject? Brielle opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. Minho had mentioned the accident, sure, but never in detail, never emotionally. He always kept it surface level, then moved on to something else. That's what I thought, Sabrina said softly. Look, I'm not trying to sabotage you. Maybe things will be different with you. Maybe he's changed, but I needed to at least warn you. So when he shuts you out, you'll know it's not you, it's just who he is. She stood, leaving her latte untouched. Good luck, Brielle. I hope I'm wrong about this. Sabrina left. Brielle sat there, coffee going cold, mind spinning. Was Sabrina right? Was Minho emotionally unavailable? Had Brielle been so focused on being supportive that she'd missed the signs? Or was this just a bitter ex trying to poison a new relationship? Her phone buzzed. Minho, dinner tonight. I'm testing a new Korean barbecue fusion recipe and need a brutally honest taste tester. Brielle stared at the message. Brielle sounds good. My place or yours? Minho, mine, 7 p.m. Brielle, see you then. She needed to talk to him, needed to know if there was any truth to what Sabrina said. But how did you ask your boyfriend if he was emotionally unavailable without sounding like you'd been conspiring with his ex? That evening, Brielle showed up at Minho's penthouse apartment with wine and determination. You look serious, Minho said, greeting her with a kiss. Did someone insult your croissants again? No, but we need to talk. Minho's expression shifted. That's never a good sentence. It's not bad. I just need to ask you something. They moved to the kitchen, where Minho had ingredients spread everywhere. He was a chaotic cook, brilliant results, messy process.
Episode 1 ends here. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Also click on the notification bell, so that you will get notified whenever a new story comes up. You can also go ahead to tell me the country you are watching from, so that I can make a story for you.